Greetings, Stars fans, and welcome to the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. If you didn't know, what we do is we go and review the recent Dallas Stars game, give our thoughts and discussions right here for you on YouTube. This is Game 3 of Round 1 of the 2016 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Stars lose 5-3. But as we usually start off each video, we go back to the last video, give our scores of what we think the predictions for the scores are going to be. I gave a score of Dallas getting 4-2 and the Wild going 5-3. So finally get a score right for once in I don't know, two months. Probably because you weren't here. Yes, we do have a brother joining back on the show. Starting off right from the jump, the headline going into this game, Tyler Seguin re-aggravating an injury. Might not be the Achilles. It might have been that maybe he was favoring it too much and might have pulled something up maybe a little higher. Maybe it wasn't an ankle injury. Looking at Game 2, you kind of figured that he was playing a little behind. You know, he only had 15 minutes, and he didn't really seem all that effective in the game, so I didn't really have a problem with him being out of this game. I know you didn't get a chance to watch the second game, but knowing what you did you see that Seguin needed to be in this lineup?
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't hurt me one bit if Seguin just sat out the rest of this round. You know, yeah, the Stars fans want Seguin back. They feel like he'll bring a much-needed winning presence with his Stanley Cup ring that he has. But I mean, since he's been gone, Stars have been doing perfectly fine without him. I mean, I'd much rather him sit, get that injury 100% taken care of, and then go into round 2 completely fresh. You know, I don't want to see something happens where they try to push him out there because they think they need him and he gets hurt again.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I thought about when they said that he was going to be scratched and Janmark being put back in the lineup. I didn't agree with Janmark coming out of Game 2 for Seguin coming in. I think another player should have been out. Nichushkin. But I think him being out of this game kind of sent the message that, look, Tyler, you're just not ready for game speed. And being out Game 3, possibly Game 4, since he didn't travel with the team, I don't really have a problem with it. Until I watched this game. This game was just a kick right in the junk. Because the Stars start off the scoring. Patrick Sharp gets a tip in from a Goligoski shot from the boards. Stars put their pressure on, and they get Ryan Suter to just throw it up the boards. And Goligoski pinches in. It's a real smart play how he pinches in and then just throws it to the net where Sharp is, and Sharp gets his stick on it to tip it over Dubnyk. That is the last good play for Goligoski. I think Goligoski used up everything good he could do in the game in that first 30 seconds of the game. It was just absolutely ridiculous. The way the Stars jumped on the Wild, it looked like, just business as usual. The Stars looked as if they were taking what the Minnesota Wild did towards the end of Game 2, and they kind of started saying, okay, you brought your pressure, now we're going to bring our pressure to see if you can counter it. The first 5 minutes, they couldn't. And about 4 minutes later, Patrick Sharp gets I don't think it was a direct pass. I mean, Cody Eakin kind of slaps it up and it hits off the boards, and Sharp picks it up and goes down and scores because Sharp is anticipating, because just like in Game 2, the Wild's defense started pinching down a little bit into their zone. Sharp gets behind him, goes in uncontested, and puts a shot past Dubnyk. After that, the Stars just become victims of being complacent. Now, for anyone listening that doesn't know what I'm saying, it just means they got too casual. They got too, relied that...
They thought they had already won the game.
Yeah, they relied off what they had already done in the past 2 games whenever you can't do that. Going into Minnesota, the atmosphere, the environment, you're not at home anymore. Granted, the Stars have been good road teams, but they've been a really good home team. They feed off their crowd. The Wild kind of hit the reset button, and their coach started making some adjustments, and the Stars had no answer for it. I think about the 8-minute mark is whenever they really started to turn it going on. You get that chance by Coyle, catching it, kind of slaps that pass right out of the air, skates in on Lehtinen. The Stars just were so overwhelmed. But the thing about it is that the Stars kept shooting themselves in the foot. You had Demers behind the net, does a little chip play to nobody out in front of the net. Granted, there's 2 Stars near the puck, but he didn't put any kind of effort to get the puck up to somebody. This is the playoffs. You want to put 100 miles an hour on your pass to make sure they don't get picked off. This is where having a tight grip on your stick should help you, because you're not going to want to lose the grip on the puck. You're not going to want to just nonchalantly just throw the puck out. Then on the boards, you had Fiddler kind of just wimping it up to the blue line, and it gets turned back in, and then they spend about another minute into their zone. After the halfway marker of the first period, what did you see for Minnesota, and how did you see Dallas trying to counter it?
All Minnesota was doing was hit first, ask later, or shoot later. They didn't. It seemed like they really didn't even care to score a goal. It seemed like all they wanted to do was just pound Dallas into the ice. And you can see it, the amount of stuff that they were doing, that just see what they can get away with after that second goal goes in from Sharp. It's unreal. They're holding on to him, they're throwing him around, they're hitting him into the boards, they're playing physical playoff hockey, and Dallas is just... That was probably the most pathetic hockey I've ever seen since back in Mini Mite Squirt days.
Well, it just... the Stars were kind of hanging in there, and it wasn't until they get that goal from Porter in the last minute of the game, and it comes off of just one of those wimpy little chip passes that doesn't get out. Goligoski tries to throw it out, gets intercepted, it stays in the zone. Lehtinen has to make some kind of save, but I think that first initial shot right before the goal, I think it goes wide. I'm not sure if Lehtinen actually touches it, but you could tell that the Wild were just pressure, and the Stars, like you were saying, the Minnesota Wild were hitting first and shooting second. They absolutely wanted to take Dallas's body out of it and leave their minds in the play, because when you take the body out, it made their mind kind of wander. It made their mind second guess a lot of different things whenever their bodies were getting hit. And Goligoski on Porter, Porter is beaver tailing his stick, and Haula is at the blue line. He's all alone, but then Goose kind of skates in onto him, but it's not with any kind of determination. It's not with any kind of determination to lift his stick. It's not with any kind of determination to push him down or to move him or to do anything. Porter is just beaver tailing his stick and is able to just redirect that slap pass onto the net. going into the intermission, I think a lot of Stars fans were probably like, okay, well, that period didn't end right. But, the Stars were still ahead. They still had a little momentum building off of that first 5 minutes. Maybe the Stars will re-rack. Going into the second period, how'd you like Dallas responding to what happened in the first period?
They didn't respond. So, I mean, that's the only answer you can give. They turtle moded so hard that they pretty much destroyed themselves for this game. They got the biggest head out there. They're like, we won the first 2 games of the series. We're up 2-0. Oh, they scored. We're up 2-1. Let's go out. Just keep doing the same thing because that was working. Well, I mean, the last 5 minutes of the period, what you were doing was not working anymore because Minnesota exposed it. Now you're trying to do the same thing in the second period. Minnesota's still just hitting. That's all they're doing. They don't care about the puck. All they want to do is hit Dallas because that is how you beat this team now. This team turned into the nervous, nerdy kid going into high school as a freshman for this first time. They didn't know what the hell was going on, what was happening, how to get past it. They're just throwing pucks willy-nilly everywhere. I mean, I think this is probably the worst game that the Stars have played this whole season.
Yeah. To get up the way they did, to bring the pressure that they did in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then just ultimately back down like a dog with a tail between its legs, coming up against a bigger, nastier dog. The thing about it is that Minnesota was playing like they had nothing to lose. And you could really tell that in the second period. The second period, they suffocated Dallas. I believe the shots in the first period were 10-6. All right. I mean, that's the first time the Stars have been outshot in the first period. Still respectable because you still have 2 goals. But in the second period, it goes 8-4. It's a low shot period, but Dallas only getting 4 shots in a period. Damn, you have to say that. Give credit to the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah,
because their defense stepped up.
That was with 2 power plays too in that period, probably.
Yeah, I think so. Well, no, they had 2 power plays in. No, because Jordy Bitt and Coyle got the roughing. They had a penalty in the first period. That first penalty. Going back to the first period, the Stars had a super good chance with Foxa right there in front, almost being able to put it up 3-0. I think that save from Dubnyk, if he doesn't make that save, he gets pulled from the game. I think if the Stars were able to jump up 3-0 before the halfway marker of the first period, Dubnyk gets pulled out of that game because they're going to have to try to salvage something. You saw after Patrick Sharp gets that second goal, the fans started booing a little bit. Not like they were tearing into the team, but they were getting a little restless. And Dubnyk making that save on Foxa absolutely changed the game. It calmed the team down. It got their defense to pull their heads out of their ass. The forwards started pinching back more towards their net, not letting anything really through. But then Pominville gets a roughing penalty at the very end of the second period. So then Hala gets that first goal about 6 minutes into the second period. And what it is that I am so done with Nichushkin. Now, some might ask, well, what does Nichushkin have to do with that goal? Go back and watch the replay. it's Nichushkin that is on Hala. He's supposed, and he glides a little bit. I don't see that 110% that you're supposed to be putting in. I don't see him getting, he just casually tries to lift his stick, doesn't get anything on it. This is a big guy. And the thing about it is when you go and you watch and you read some of the comments that people have about Nichushkin and stuff, like, you know, his offense, okay, fine. His offense isn't there. It hasn't been there for this season. But a lot of people are like, well, that's because he's focusing on his defensive game. What team are they watching that Nichushkin is this great defensive player? Like, where do you stand on that?
I'm done with Nichushkin as well. I mean, throughout the season, I was kind of rocking the boat. Like, I wouldn't mind if he went somewhere else, but I'd like him to stay. Now I just want him to go. Like, this guy, like, he just has no hustle whatsoever. Unless he has the puck on his stick, maybe getting a breakaway or has a chance to kind of get around a defender, this kid does not try. This kid is, I'm like, fathomed on how you can be 21 years old in the NHL. Granted, okay, you're Russian, you don't have anybody to talk to, okay? Well, learn how to speak English, learn how to speak another language if you don't want to speak English, learn to talk to somebody on the team, try your ass off, and the coach will, he'll put you in more minutes. I think the Dallas Stars right now are just baby-footing around the whole Nichushkin deal, like not wanting to take him out because they're scared he's going to leave. Who cares? Leave, Nichushkin. You're not doing our team any favors right now. Unless you come out in the next game and score 4 goals, like, I see no reason to keep you on this team.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that it's the playoffs. That's all you have to say. You're in this league to get to the playoffs. And with the way the NHL is set up, there's so much parity in this league that number 8s can beat number 1s. Number 8s can win the Stanley Cup. This isn't the NBA. This isn't the NFL. This isn't the MLB. The MLB has a little bit of parity to it. But usually in the other leagues, the cream rises to the top. The best teams are usually the ones competing for it. The NHL, if you don't bring your A game, you get exposed. And just like in Game 3, the Stars got exposed because they stopped playing. They stopped doing a lot of the little things. And a lot of it is this game totally set on Nichushkin's shoulders? No. But then again, you don't notice him out there. And that's not a good thing. When has anybody ever said in this round of the playoffs, that was a great play by Nichushkin? When has anybody ever said, oh, great defensive play by Nichushkin, great back check by Nichushkin? Nobody. I'm hard pressed to know when someone said that during the regular season. This kid is supposed to be flourishing right now in this situation. He wants to play in these high pressure situations, and it's like he doesn't want to leave. Like, he has to be scratched for next game. He has to.
He won't. I already know he won't.
I mean, if Sagan doesn't come back in, which I don't think he will be, then he's not going to be scratched. But holy hell, I would much rather have 7 defensemen on the roster and the forward skate short on the 4th line than to have Nichushkin back out there. I mean, Janmark was scratched in the second game. He comes back in. I mean, you noticed Janmark. You notice Patrick Eves. Sevier even pulls his weight and got a goal last night. Granted, it's just a deflection, but he was in the right place at the right time. Nichushkin is some big Russian that doesn't use his size, doesn't use his speed, uses his hands sporadically. He just doesn't seem to have the hockey sense to play in the NHL. I think right now he's starting to understand that he just doesn't have the passion to play in the NHL. I think he just wants to go through the motions, get through whatever contract he has left, and go back to Russia and play in the KHL. I think that's what he's doing because I don't think there's a lot between his head. I just don't see the passion. You're in the playoffs, and you're giving us 75% of what you could actually be doing. And that is hurting this team because Jason Spezza's line last night was one of the weaker lines, and it's not just because of Spezza and Janmark. It's because Nichushkin, they might as well have been skating 5-on-4 every time Spezza's line was out there.
Yeah, I'd much rather... See, the thing that didn't make sense to me is why they sent Brett Ritchie back down. Like, were they even watching his games when he was out there? Like, this kid worked so hard and is such a physical body. I don't know why he would not be in the lineup. I mean, if you want to leave Val in there, okay, cool. But I mean, I think it would almost make more sense to scratch Janmark for Ritchie. If you're gonna scratch Janmark, don't do it for somebody like Nichushkin. Do it for somebody like Ritchie, who's going to go out there and give 150% because he knows this is his chance to make the roster. This is his chance to go out there and be a big body, hit people, and score goals and do what he loves to do, play hockey.
Yeah, the situation with Nichushkin, Ritchie, I think he was hurt down the stretch of the season. Maybe he's down in the AHL to get some kind of conditioning or something. But God, I mean, I just cannot talk any positive note to how Nichushkin plays right now. Moving on, but then again, this whole team besides Sharp, no one really showed up. I mean,
well, I'd say Sharp and Kari.
Kari showed up.
Every goal that was scored on Kari was not his fault, I would feel, in this game.
Yeah, maybe the Koivu goal at the end, questionable, but the third goal, the Pominville goal, Klingberg just skates into him and kind of wipes him out. That's how you know it's just a game that's not on your side, is whenever Niederreiter comes in and hits his speed boost. Klingberg can't keep up, and Klingberg keeps going into Kari instead of stopping or taking the long way out and letting Kari try to manage the rebound. Klingberg just decides, I'll just keep skating into Kari. The entire defense besides Johns, I felt, was just awful. Was there anyone else that kind of stood out as good?
No. I mean, another thing about everybody talking about Klingberg, how he's not playing right now, is because the way that the team made Klingberg out to be this next Sergei Zubov before he's ready. Like, this is a second line defenseman at best playing a top defenseman game. Like, do I think he can handle it regular season? Yes, I think he can handle it. Playoff time, I'd sit his ass on the third line and cut his minutes. Because this kid, he's played in the league 1.5 seasons. He does not have the right headset right now to be playing as a top defenseman for the playoffs. For one, he's too small. He's not fast enough. He has great offense. Like, he has great offense for a defenseman. His defensive skill, it's average, you know. I mean, there's a lot more than what you could say for some of our defense in that game. But this kid, he's still a brand new rookie in this league. This is and I don't know what kept Russell out of the game. An illness.
Yeah, some kind of illness that.
But I mean,
it better have been like
laryngitis.
He was throwing up every 15 minutes, and it was just uncontrollable because this is the playoffs. If it comes out that he had the sniffles or he had a little slight hint of a fever or something like that, it's a little weak. I mean, you got to be in the lineup.
See, like the defense that we had when Jordy Ben was hurt, Demers was hurt, is the defense that we should have in this game or in this round. Nemeth and Oleksiak, Johns Oduya, Russell, Goligoski. You could substitute Goligoski for Klingberg for all I care, but I mean, ever since Demers, Klingberg, and Ben have come back, the defense has just not looked the same.
I'd say
and it's because we rely too heavily on the veteran presence, like me and you talk about all the time.
I think Demers coming back into the lineup really threw a wrench onto that defense. But I mean, the first game was great, but then in the second game, towards the end of it, you could tell that the Minnesota Wild were starting to pick up on the physical nature that the Stars just can't handle. And if you go back and you listen to previous episodes, we talk about just that. It's the physical nature that the Stars just can't handle. It's how St. Louis played against them. It's how Colorado used to play against them. It's how LA used to play against them. It's how Anaheim used to play them. It's how Nashville played against them. Minnesota, the past 2 seasons, has beaten the number 1 team in the Western Conference. If you thought this was going to be a sweep, I mean, I still like the Stars in 5, but you cannot say that Minnesota was just this god-awful team, because they're in the playoffs just like the Stars are. It's an even kill match. It doesn't matter who you are, any team can win on any given day in the playoffs. Koivu getting that power play goal was an absolute backbreaker. But a lot of it, just the overall play, the soft passes, the no-look fancy passes that are getting intercepted, the no hustle, Jamie Benn not getting a shot on goal, the Stars being held under 20 shots for only the 4th time in 80-plus games. You go and you look at the score and you might think, it was probably close. You know, that 5th goal was an empty netter, so it must have been close. No. The Stars got up early and then were just never in this game. The
3rd goal goes in off a fluke.
Yeah. The Stars showed up for 5 minutes and took the night off after that. They let the Minnesota Wild turn the momentum towards the Wild, and now it's a series, but I'm excited to see what happens in Game 4. I think Game 4 is going to be the swing game. And by swing game, what I mean is that this is the game that determines the series. If the Stars, rebound, and the Stars have rebounded well against teams that have brought all sorts of pressure against them. They've learned how to use that pressure against them to expose the weakness, because we saw that in Game 1. Minnesota started pinching their defense, and the Stars were able to get around it. Game 2, it took a fluky Roussel goal, but, the Stars were able to weather the tide when it came to them. This one, they just looked overmatched in every other way. Every stat was pretty much in favor of Minnesota. They had more takeaways. Surprisingly, Dallas only credited for 4 giveaways. How they only saw 4 giveaways, I would have sworn that by checking the stat sheet this morning, it would have been like 20 giveaways by Dallas. But I'm not. Again, I'm very hazy on what they consider an absolute giveaway, because a lot of things like the little chip passes up the boards, not getting it out of the zone, I think that's a clear giveaway. Minnesota had 10 takeaways to Dallas's 6. I think that's being, charitable. Minnesota wins 1 more face-off than Dallas, but overall, and the nature of this game comes down to that empty net goal. Klingberg has the puck, tries to just waft it a star player, and it gets intercepted out of the air. Just there's no sizzle on it. There's just like I'll try to see what happens and then it gets intercepted and then shot right back into our net. It was a disgusting game. Hopefully the Stars can put it past them because, I mean, this happened, I think it was last year. The Minnesota went down 0-2, came back and won 4 straight against St. Louis, or it was Chicago or whatever. But they got to realize that this game in Minnesota, it means so much more than any other game that they've played. This is a swing game. If Minnesota runs off with another game in Minnesota, this will be why I talked about it. I would have much rather fought Chicago than Minnesota. If Minnesota continues to play like that and Dallas continues to play the way they did, I'll have been right whenever I said that I didn't want to play Minnesota. Minnesota was, I don't want to say trap team, but Minnesota's better than what they went into the playoffs.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, if you're playing a team in the playoffs and you're not trying to beat them 100-0 and leave them battered and bruised so they have to take the whole off season to recover, you're not playing playoff hockey and you might as well just get out now.
Yep.
Like, if that's not how you're willing to play, I fully expect the Stars to lose this.
And the another interesting thing on the stat sheet is that Minnesota has like 12 players scratched and 2 injuries, one for Parise and Carter. Like, they called up pretty much the whole AHL team. And then they put in their goons on the 4th line to really rattle Dallas. So Dallas saw their hand. I think Minnesota is nothing else than what they just give. I think Minnesota said all in on this hand. Dallas still has a couple of cards to play.
But will they play them? I don't think they will.
That's what the swing game's for. Going into the ratings, what do you rate this one?
F minus, F plus, whatever is worse than an F. Granted, Kari played his heart out. Sharp got paid to do what he does in the playoffs. He has 30 more goals than the next Stars player in the playoffs.
Something like that.
But I mean, those 2 goals were absolutely nullified the second that goal got scored by Minnesota.
Yep.
Because that's what changed the tide of the game.
I gave a D plus. I mean, it seems favorable, but Dallas did jump on him. Kari did his job. And I think Kari still gets his job in the game 4. I think it would be absolutely stupid to put Niemi in the net. Yeah, so with that, I mean, those 2 goals kept it from being an F, I think. And then getting that 3rd goal, I think, helped boost it just a little bit more into instead of just a D to a D plus. So we got Game 4 tomorrow on Wednesday. What kind of scores do you like for that one?
Well, Stars better get their heads out of their ass real quick and in a hurry, or else they are going to get destroyed so hard it's not even going to be fun. But if they do manage to get their game right, to stop playing magical hockey, whatever they want to try and play, to try to shoot through walls of players and stuff, I'll say we'll go 3-2 for Dallas, and I'll say 6-1 for Minnesota.
Interesting. I think Dallas rebounds after this game. I think they take what was given to them, and I don't think they're going to give it right back. I think they're going to find a way to plow around the stump instead of going through it. With that, I like a score of 2-1. I think it's going to be a tighter game in this one for Dallas if they try to pull off something. And for Minnesota, I like a score of 4-1. So, with that, that is the end of the discussion. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, share wherever you would like, leave any kind of feedback down below. Remember, this is a show for fans, by fans, and as always, tune in next time.